What if I told you that a single Visa Bulletin just changed the timeline for hundreds of thousands of green card applicants overnight? Not by weeks, not by a couple of months. Surprised, by almost an entire year. The April 2026 Visa Bulletin just dropped, and if you are waiting for a green card in the EB2 or EB3 India category, what just happened could affect your life in ways you did not see coming. But before I get to that, let me ask you something. Curious, do you actually understand how the Visa Bulletin works? Do you know the difference between the filing date chart and the final action date chart? Do you know which one determines when you can submit your I-485 and which one determines when you actually get your green card? Because most applicants I talk to confuse these two charts, and that confusion leads to missed opportunities, unnecessary stress, and in some cases, people sitting on the sidelines when they could have filed months ago. Here is a question that might stop you in your tracks right now. Did you know that EB2 India and EB3 India filing dates are now sitting at the exact same date? January 15th, 2015. Both of them, the same date. Do you understand what that means for anyone who has been debating whether to downgrade from EB2 to EB3 or upgrade from EB3 to EB2? The answer might save you thousands of dollars in legal fees and months of unnecessary paperwork. And here is something else. Did you know that the F2A family category, spouses and minor children of green card holders, just became current again in the filing date chart? It was not current for about a year and a half. Now suddenly it is. Why? What changed? And more importantly, what does that mean for you if you have a family petition pending? Now let me throw one more question at you before we dive in. The State Department included a warning at the bottom of this Visa Bulletin that most people will completely skip over. They warned that retrogression may be necessary later in the fiscal year. Do you know what retrogression means? It means dates can move backward. It means a priority date that is current today could become unavailable next month. So if your date just became current and you are thinking about waiting, should you? Or is that the single worst decision you could make right now? Every single one of these questions gets answered in this video. I am going to walk you through the entire April 2026 Visa Bulletin, every family category, every employment category, what moved, what did not, why it happened, and most importantly, what you should be thinking about right now based on your specific situation. This information matters. If you are waiting on a green card, if your family is waiting, if your employer filed a petition for you years ago, and you have been watching these dates crawl forward month after month, this is the video you cannot afford to skip. Subscribe to US Visa and Green Card info right now, and let us break this down together. Let us start with the family-based section because there is significant forward movement across almost every category, and the reason behind it is something every immigrant needs to understand. Starting with the final action dates. The F1 category, which covers unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens, has jumped forward by approximately 6 months. For all chargeability, China and India, the date moved from November 8th, 2016 to May 1st, 2016. That is 6 months worth of visa numbers now becoming available, which means people in this category with priority dates before May 2016 should be in line for green card issuance. Mexico moved forward about 2 months to February 2007, and Philippines moved forward about 2 months to May 2013. The F2A category, covering spouses and minor children of permanent residents, remained the same in the final action chart. But here's where it gets exciting. In the filing date chart, F2A has become current. This means there is no waiting line for filing. If you are in this category and you have not yet filed your adjustment of status application, the door is open right now. This category was not current for roughly 18 months, so this is a notable shift. The F2B category for unmarried adult children of green card holders moved forward from December 2016 to May 2017 for all chargeability, China, and India. Mexico also saw about 5 months of progression. Philippines stayed the same. F3, covering married sons and daughters of US citizens, moved forward about 3 months from September 2011 to December 2011 for the main chargeability areas. Philippines had a nice jump from March 2005 to July 2005. And the F4 sibling category moved forward about 5 months from January 2008 to June 2008 for all chargeability, China, and India. Philippines saw one of the biggest jumps in the family section, moving roughly 6 to 7 months from December 2006 to February 2007. Now in the filing date chart, similar forward movement. F1 moved from September 2017 to March 2018. F2A became current. F2B moved from March 2017 to August 2017. F3 moved from July to November 2012. And F4 moved about 2 months from March 2009 to May 2009 for all chargeability in China, with Philippines also moving from January 2008 to March 2008. So why is this happening? Why are we suddenly seeing this level of movement in the family-based section? The answer is the 75-country immigrant visa pause. Because immigrant visas are not being issued for nationals of those 75 countries, those in used visa numbers are being redistributed or spilled over into the backlogged categories. This lateral spillover is directly benefiting the family-based section across nearly every preference category. However, and this is important, this level of absorption in the family section means there may be fewer leftover visa numbers available for spillover into the employment-based section at the end of the fiscal year. That is a trade-off that could affect EB2 and EB3 India later. We will keep monitoring this in the months ahead. Now let us get into the employment-based section because this is where the headline news is. Starting with EB1 final action dates. All chargeability remains current. China and India both moved forward by 1 full month from March 1st, 2023 to April 1st, 2023. Mexico and Philippines remain current. So if you are in the EB1 category for China or India, your final action date has been steadily progressing, and it has moved forward by more than a year over the past several months. That is significant because it means USCIS service centers are going to be processing a large volume of EB1 cases, and having your documentation ready is critical. Now EB2. This is the big story. All chargeability has become current, which is great because it means any extra visa numbers in EB2 rest of the world flow directly to China and India. China remained at September 1st, 2021. But India, EB2 India, jumped forward by almost 9 months in the final action chart, moving from September 2013 to July 15th, 2014. 9 months of forward progression in a single bulletin. That is extraordinary. If your priority date is before July 15th, 2014, your date is now current in the final action chart, and you should be in position to receive your green card. This is the kind of movement that does not happen often, and when it does, you need to act. USCIS service centers across the country are going to be handling a flood of newly current cases. If your date just became current, being proactive about your case, making sure your file is complete, that nothing is pending, that your employer and attorney are aligned, that is not optional. That is essential. These windows of current dates do not come with guarantees about how long they will last. Mexico and Philippines in EB2 have also become current in the final action chart. Moving to EB3. All chargeability moved forward about 8 months from October 2023 to June 2024. China progressed about 2 months, but EB3 India unfortunately remained stuck at November 2013 in the final action chart. That is disappointing for EB3 India applicants, but the filing date chart tells a different and much more encouraging story. In the filing date chart for the employment-based section, here is what moved. EB1 remained current for all chargeability. China stayed at December 1st, 2023. India had no change. EB2 all chargeability remained current. China stayed at January 2022. But EB2 India progressed about 2.5 months from November 1st, 2014 to January 15th, 2015. This is the first time the EB2 India filing date has reached January 2015, a milestone that many applicants have been waiting years for. And here is the truly remarkable part. EB3 India also progressed in the filing date chart from August 2014 to January 15th, 2015. So EB2 India and EB3 India are now sitting at the exact same filing date, January 15th, 2015. Both of them aligned. What does this mean practically? It means if your priority date is before January 15th, 2015, regardless of whether you are in EB2 or EB3, you can now file your I-485 adjustment of status application if you have not already done so. It also means the strategic question of whether to downgrade from EB2 to EB3 or upgrade from EB3 to EB2, which has been a major source of confusion and expense for applicants, is no longer relevant at this particular cutoff. Both categories are at the same date. Stay in your lane. Focus on your final action dates and watch how they progress. EB3 all chargeability also became current in the filing date chart, which means any available spillovers can flow into EB3 India. Mexico became current as well. The rest of the employment-based chart, including EB4 and EB5, remained largely the same, with minor progressions in specific subcategories for China. So let us talk about the bigger picture. Why are we seeing this level of progression across so many categories at once? The primary driver is the 75-country immigrant visa pause. Because the State Department is not issuing immigrant visas to nationals of those 75 countries, a significant volume of visa numbers that would normally be used by applicants from those nations is going unused. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, those unused numbers must be redistributed within the existing preference system. That is what is happening right now. Those numbers are flowing into the backlogged categories, pushing dates forward for India, China, Philippines, Mexico, and the rest of the world. This is not a permanent structural change to the immigration system. This is a temporary reallocation driven by a specific administrative policy. And that brings us to the warning the State Department included at the bottom of this Visa Bulletin. They stated that as additional immigrant visa demands materialize or administrative actions are amended, retrogression may be necessary later in the fiscal year to keep issuance within the annual limits. In plain language, this means that if the 75-country pause is lifted or modified, if embassies start processing those visas again, or if demand from other countries increases, the dates you see today could move backward. Retrogression is always a possibility. So what should you take from this? If your date is current right now, either in the filing date chart or the final action chart, do not wait. Do not assume these dates will stay where they are. Do not assume they will keep moving forward at this rate. Take action now. File what you can file. Follow up on what is pending. Make sure your case is complete and ready for adjudication. The opportunity in front of EB2 and EB3 India applicants right now is real, but it is not guaranteed to last. The applicants who benefit most from moments like this are the ones who were prepared before the bulletin came out and who take action immediately after. Here is what to watch in the coming months. First, monitor whether the family-based section continues absorbing large volumes of spillover visa numbers. If it does, the employment-based section may see fewer surplus numbers at the end of the fiscal year than many people were anticipating. That could limit how far EB2 and EB3 final action dates advance in August and September. Second, watch the EB2 India final action date closely. It jumped 9 months in one bulletin. The filing date is now at January 2015. The question is whether the final action date will catch up to January 2015 by the end of the fiscal year. Based on current trends, that is a reasonable possibility, but it depends entirely on how visa numbers continue to be allocated. Third, keep an eye on any changes to the 75-country pause or the 39-country adjudication pause. Any modification to either of these policies could trigger retrogression or slow down the forward movement we are seeing. If this breakdown helped you understand where your case stands, subscribe to US Visa and Green Card info and turn on the notification bell. Every month when the new Visa Bulletin drops, I break it down category by category so you always know exactly what is happening with your priority date. Share this video with anyone you know who is waiting on a green card, whether they are in the family-based system or the employment-based system. The Visa Bulletin affects millions of people, and most of them do not take the time to understand what these numbers actually mean for their case. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Stay informed, stay prepared, and if your date is current, do not wait. Act now.